Hello and welcome back to the Greek pyramid. So, what if rather than Percy being a child of Poseidon, he was instead a child of Neptune? First thing I thought would be worth considering is, would his powers differ, and if so, how? Well, as Neptune is broadly a copy of Poseidon in the Rhine-verse, you can't expect many changes power-wise. The Romans weren't hugely seafaring people, and that is represented in the present-day Roman navy, shown in the son of Neptune with one sad little boat. It could be that Percy is less powerful, as the Romans weren't particularly interested in what Neptune was going on, and didn't have the classic idea of the big three, instead preferring other Roman gods, with power over freshwater more so than seawater, so probably better at controlling rivers and groundwater such as aquifers, but still with a close affinity and ability to talk to horses. Would there be a change in personality? With the switch from the Greek to the Romans, the main change we saw in Heroes of Olympus were gods being more warlike and disciplined, and this would also be represented with Poseidon to Neptune. Does this mean this then also gets reflected in Percy? He's pretty wild and not one to follow the rules per se. Would this change his cause his behaviour to change as well? Would Percy more so conform to the Roman way? I mean, we did see Jason even beginning to think that the Roman way wasn't the correct way, so it's difficult to say. Then what happens to Percy with the Percy Jackson and the Olympians books? Well, as he is now a child of a Roman god, he will instead be heading to Camp Jupiter, which is a big change compared to the Percy Jackson and Olympians books. It's going to be a long process crossing the country to get to the relative safety of the camp. Then he's going to stay with Lupa and the wolves before travelling on to Camp Jupiter. It's not really going to be a great time to start, as the camp believes that children of Neptune are bad luck after they wrongly accused Shen Lun of causing the 1906 earthquake. So he's probably chucked straight into the 5th cohort. Here he can contribute to the Roman military much like the other demigods. Will we see him rise like in Camp Half-Blood? Not really. And he's kind of propelled due to his quest to get the lightning bolt, and obviously that's not going to be happening. Speaking of which, on the Greek side, we'll take it as much the story continuing in the same vein, with Luke becoming evil and attempting to resurrect Kronos. Maybe he reveals he's evil later on, as he's no longer attempting to kill off Percy at the end of the Lightning Thief. But we can only assume the books continue in a similar vein, but maybe with more destruction if Percy is not around to help. Instead, we would see Percy as part of the team taking down Krios in the attack on Mount Orthus, which would be pretty cool to read anyway. Who knows, maybe in his time in the 5th cohort he becomes with someone we're all familiar with, Jason Grace. And the two of them together, as well as the rest of the Roman legion, can help to defeat Krios. This does bring up an interesting question as we move forward to Heroes of Olympus. Would he still be in the Prophecy of 7? We've got to presume that Jason is the one that is switched by Hera, so it depends who he is switched for, potentially. As in this one, Jason will still basically be the leader of the camp, so should be switched with whoever the Camp Half-Blood leader is to an extent. Ultimately, it seems it depends if Hera/Juno decides that he is one of the important demigods to fulfill the Prophecy of 7. Or whether in this reality he's not worth being one of the 7 demigods. But I'm not sure a different switch in this alternate reality would actually work. I think we've got to assume that Percy at the end of the day will end up going on that journey. But whether it would work is difficult to say. Right, that is all we have time for today. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.